Oh, I feel like I need to like scrunch down a little bit here.
I know. I never know how it's gonna. It's been a long time since I've been in one of these with
Well,
somebody else. So
yeah, and I'm trying to be like extra like good about like what's in my view, what's not, since this is
yes,
not my normal space.
true.
There's
Yeah,
like a little potty in the background, so just like keep my
like a
body
little potty,
like a little potty, like a penny potty. Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
a penny
Anyways,
potty.
yeah. I'm in Arizona right now, not my normal location, Cincinnati. But yay! I'm so glad you're here, Beth. I was just gonna start with a little intro for anyone that doesn't know about Mend, and then I'll kick it over to you to introduce yourself too. I don't want to
All right.
forget to know where we can find you, all that stuff. But yeah, Mend. I'm Amanda Bicking. I'm the owner of Mend, and I am a style clairvoyant, a body love coach, and a designer. And the reason that I wanted to do these series is because I've had lots of conversations with close friends and clients about, body love, body confidence, body neutrality was a word Karen used last week that I think is really important. We can talk about. But I'm hoping that by sharing our stories and talking about it with each other, we can feel seen and not alone and know that a lot of these things are similarities we have or we don't have, and we can gain empathy with that. So, like I said, a lot of the work I'm doing is around styling and body confidence. So if anybody has any questions ever or wants to know more, like absolutely don't hesitate. Please, please, please send me the questions and DMs because I love it. Or you can always, my link is in my bio for my services. You can always check it out that way. But love answering questions. So Beth raised her hand. Yay, to come do this with me. Thank you so much. And Beth and I have known each other for a very long time. So it's nice to just be here and
Yeah.
talking as friends. And thank you for, potentially being a little vulnerable and sharing your story. And I'd love it if you introduced who you are, Earth and Ether, and where people can find you so I don't forget that piece.
Yeah, no. Well, thanks for having me. And I don't think I would have raised my hand had it not been you asking the question, like, "Hey, I want to do this," and
Thank you.
because you just make me feel very safe and cared for and loved. So I appreciate that. And yeah, the space that you hold is real and it's really, really good. So um, thank you. And for anyone who's watching, thanks for listening to my story. I have had lots of conversations with Amanda. Again, Amanda mentioned that we've been friends. We met in college and have known each other for a long time. And a year ago, reconnected. And we've had a lot of conversations about body stuff. I had
Yeah.
Amanda do my reading, my intuitive style edit, which you're calling the Reformation, but the
Yes.
edit is, yes. And, got to get some pinpointed ways to work with areas that I'm a little stuck in right now in my journey. But yes, I'll back up. My name is Beth Porter, for those of you who I don't know. I also love DMs. No, I love connecting. I love talking, and I like talking about myself, so this is perfect. I run Earth and Ether, which is linked here, obviously, but that is my healing and branding practice. I support entrepreneurs and small business owners, people in this space or sole purpose seekers, really, but in getting their gifts and products and services out into the world. The through line between healing and branding is really about um, connecting to your authentic self, whether it is through yourself or your brand's authentic self. So, um, yeah, that's that's all I'll say about that. Um,
Yeah, well,
but
I'll
yeah, you
just
can find me on
say too,
Instagram.
like Bend came from the work that I
Mend.
did with Beth,
Yeah.
which I think is really fun to have that connection here. I did the work with Beth, the healing work. I think it's over a year ago now, almost probably a year and
Hmm.
a half ago, and I know we're here to talk. Well, we're here to talk about you too. So like, but just to say, it was a profound um, experience I went through and helped me see what my purpose is and what I enjoy doing. And now it's all full circle. It's so nice. It's
Yeah,
so good. Yeah.
I'm so honored to have been able to work with you and to see this grow out of uh, your deeper connection to yourself and what you wanted, really like what your soul wants to bring to the world is super powerful and really beautiful and has already impacted so many incredible people. Yeah, it's a joy to watch you continue to grow. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
We're just gonna have our own love fest here, just the two of
Sweet.
us.
That's, I guess, how it usually goes.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, we can start wherever you want to. If you want to give kind of like, and feel free, I should have said this last week with Karen, but to share as little or as much as you want, like,
sure.
and everything's off or on topic, whatever you want. But um, yeah, I know you and I chat a little bit about some of the things that flared up for you, for your body that maybe isn't always just like body shape and stuff like that. So start wherever you
Yeah,
like, and we can kind of go with it.
cool. Um, yeah, I feel like when you think about your body neutrality or body relationship story or body love story, whatever, there I'm in my mid 30s. There's a lot of years of, having ups and downs and all of that stuff. But I think for me, I've actually, I'm like, how do I say this? Um, I, I don't even really know where to start, I guess, because it's just like a whole lifetime of stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and one of the biggest thing where it showed up for me first, I think, was actually in my skin rather than my body shape or weight but truly like the color of my skin, the
Mm-hmm.
paleness of my skin. And then I developed like really bad cystic acne. So I was always naturally thin. I grew up, my dad has thinner side, whatever, high metabolism in his on his side. And but my mom's side has always struggled with weight. And when I was growing up, I was always praised and told like how lucky I was that I was so thin. And then I developed this thing that nobody else had in my family. So I had, well, first off, I'm the palest one. I'm the one that can't like take the sun very well. I'm the one that has red hair. No one else has red hair, reddish hair.
That's a
Um, yeah, so I'm like,
yeah.
I used to think that red hair came from having a blonde dad and a brunette mom. Like I thought that that's like you brought
Oh.
that together and it just made red. Which is kind of like what your family looks like because Penny's is reddish and you're brunette
Yeah.
and Chuck is blonde. It's kind of
Chuck is a
funky. I
brunette.
guess he's a brunette. Yeah, I just see him as like a lighter brunette. No?
I guess it's
I,
not quite as dark as mine, but no,
yeah.
yeah, my child Penny doesn't. I've been told doesn't look like my child, so I'm like,
Yeah.
she looks like grandma.
Who
Yeah,
knows? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, as I was growing up, there was just a lot of positive affirmation around my looks. But what came with that was like the undertone of it was that I was just really lucky and um, I should appreciate it. And I mean that I'm talking like 6, 7 years old, like way too
mm,
young to be kind of like
yeah,
even
yeah,
knowing about, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
even like with my hair, my mom used to try to dye her hair to match my hair color.
I
And
remember you telling me that.
yeah, she was like, she used to be a hairstylist. She was very invested in my hair. So like it was down to um, mid thigh, and she used to like brush it and braid it every day. And I was just a tomboy. I just wanted to like play. It was just there was a lot of fuss around my appearance, and
Mm-hmm.
then again paired with like this, you know, being told very young like you're so lucky, you're skinny, whatever. And so what I think happened, because yeah, then I developed at like 14, I developed pretty bad cystic acne. So it wasn't like the standard teen acne where you saw it all over the
Yeah,
face or it was from diet or whatever. Like it was, all in my chin and multiple cysts. But I don't, if anyone has never had this, um, because it doesn't come to, this is getting really gross, but because it doesn't come to like a head, it
yeah.
just lives as this like, knob under your skin. And it's more
Oh,
like the surface, it's painful and the
yeah.
surface, it's red, but you can cover it with makeup. And so the surface becomes not flat, but, and they last for a long time. Like I had some that would last for months, months and months. And this like kept getting worse and worse as I aged. So I my big journey was really around skin, not being somebody who could get tan because that was like the popular thing when we were in
Yeah,
school.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I remember like wearing shorts when I was in ninth grade, and this girl, it was the last time I wore shorts until this summer, thanks to Amanda. um, but I wore shorts when I played volleyball because I had to. But the last time I wore shorts, like for pleasure or whatever, like for style. I remember this girl in my class just looking at me and she was like, oh my God, like, have your legs ever seen the sun before? And then I had friends who would like put their fingers on my pulse and like pretend like they were taking my pulse because I was so pale that it was like, how are you even living?
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously looking back on it, like that stuff doesn't matter, and like who cares? But in high school, I felt like a huge outsider and I already didn't really connect with everybody because I moved there later in my years. And then, yeah, I had this acne that I was always like hiding. So I felt this weird thing where I'm like supposed to be appreciative of this body that I have because it's skinny, and I shouldn't even do that. It was, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
skinny or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like considered that. And, but I like hated it. I like covered, I mean, even in the summer, I would wear long sleeves and jeans and I would just try to cover up as much as possible. And then, yeah, I wore, I got very good at makeup. So, just like cover up makeup. And, I always felt like I was just hiding always. And I remember saying this to you, and you were like, that's so interesting that like I wouldn't even look at myself in the mirror. Like when you go to the bathroom to like wash your hands, like even if I was in the bathroom by myself, I like couldn't look at myself unless I was at home in the privacy of my home. And, I went to bed with face masks on, and I would wake up and immediately put on makeup. So my parents didn't really even know how bad things were.
Wow.
And from that time, it was like there was never, like, never a time where I had clear skin, like from age 14 until like 2 years ago now. So I just never had a space of like a break. So this area, I mean, I have makeup on now, still a lot of like scarring and things like that, but so much has changed. But really, my journey with appreciating my body came through that, like the understanding. I feel like I'm just like jet, like
You
going
are
on and on
good.
about it.
No, this
Okay.
is what it's all
I'm
about.
like, I just
Yeah.
realizing that I'm like, I'm telling the story. It's taking a long time.
You're good.
But yeah, the skin is actually what led me to healing, which is what led me, well, the skin led me to understanding that there was a self-love issue. And I was like, great. I read like Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, like back in, I was like 22. And I was like, yeah, of course I don't love, like, yeah, that's the key. I don't love myself. And then I was like, how the fuck do you love yourself? Like, I don't
Right.
understand.
Right. You can't just
I
be
can't
like,
just like,
now I love myself. Yeah.
and I'm going to do that. And, I tried the affirmations. I did everything holistic because by that point I had done topical stuff. I had taken medicine. I never did Accutane. That was the only thing. Because by that point, when I was ready to do it, I was like, something was just like, this feels too extreme and it's just covering up the problem.
Right.
It's not actually like healing it.
Yeah.
And, so many things. Did so many things. And, um, through that journey of healing my skin, which was a lot of emotional healing for me, it was healing this loyalty to my mom and people in my family who struggled with their appearance, and also loyalty, I think, to just the collective of those of us who are associated or who grow up identifying as women. Just there's a lot of pressure to look a certain way, and healing some of those loyalties there so that I could let that go, let those old stories go, and um, yeah, it kind of brought me to a space of just like radical acceptance. And I'm 35 now, and I feel like pretty fucking good. Like most of the time,
Yeah.
I think that the journey is that, like now I feel like I can make choices that are really supporting my system from a place of acceptance and love, and not from a place of like, I have to be restrictive in order to keep my skin clear, or I have to be restrictive in order to stay a certain size, or I have to work out really
Right.
hard in
Right.
order to, it's not bargaining. I'm just like, I work out and I move my body because I do a lot of energy work and I'm like, I need to move the energy out,
Yeah.
like I can feel when it's time.
Yeah.
And I go through seasons where I'm into it and not into it. And, you know, um, yeah, that's kind of like the short version of it all. I don't know if
No, like
that's
there's so
okay.
many
I'm
things
like,
in
I'm gonna
there
let
to
you
like
talk.
dig into. I know I'm like sitting here like listening, but also like, which one do we want to jump into first? Yeah, I mean, so what I do think is interesting is like right off the bat, you were saying how you were praised like from a very young age of being thin, right? And like
Mhm.
it's
Hi,
these
Nicole.
are things.
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
saw that
Oh,
Nicole came
yay!
on.
Hi. Yeah, and I think, especially now that I'm a mom too, it's always this like, what do we, like, don't praise
Yeah,
too much, but like, make sure they praise enough, that sort of thing. But I do think when you, like, our generation, since we're the same age, I feel like it was so much of a focus, like how people looked, like their weight, that sort of thing. Like when I think about, I mean, what we were 90s kids, like supermodels and stuff like that is like very
hmm,
much like thin, or Clueless, that movie came out like at the time, like how people looked and short shorts and stuff. And I just think it was like a focus a lot. And like it's kind of interesting because I'm like, and I'm making it a focus now, but it's like a different kind of conversation where it's not like I'm this, I'm too thin, I'm too big, I'm, whatever. And I mean, that stuff sticks with you, and
yeah,
I heard you say too, like, not, you work out now because you're like releasing energy or you feel a need to, or it feels like grounded, but not because you want to like stay a certain size or things like that. And that's, I think, being, well, something I still struggle with all the time, but something that's like shifting a bit for me is like working out to feel good. For me, it's like the biggest like antidepressant, anti-anxiety tool there can
yeah,
be for me. So I like have so much gratitude for that, but also learning like physically and functionally what my body can take, like, and what
yeah,
things work better than others has been like really good. But there's always, I think, because of society and how we grew up and all these things ingrained in me, that's still like, but you should exercise so that you can keep your arms toned, right? Like, or when you
yeah,
wear this, you
yeah,
should do this. And it's hard, but I do think, I think these conversations are like really changing. And just your example of like, you're 35 now, but you feel good when you go out.
yeah.
Like,
I'm like, I'm
I
fine.
know you told me something like one day, like, I can go run or walk Frankie in a
Hmm,
sports bra and high waisted pants, and that's great.
hmm.
But
Yeah,
that
I'm
was like
like,
a
I feel
big
good.
thing to overcome, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, no, and I feel like I should clarify on, yeah, that statement of, I work out to release energy, not necessarily to stay a certain size.
oh,
I
right,
think
yeah,
the reason I'm in that space now, because I didn't used to feel this way, I was so afraid that I was going to grow. Like I was so afraid that I was going to, so like I've done a lot of healing work, and again, that whole like releasing of the loyalties was so big for me,
yeah,
because what and since I've done that, I was like, oh, I can trust my body to tell
yeah,
me what it needs.
yeah,
To also, I can just trust that like this is the frame that I'm in. Like this is just it. And
right,
so why don't I start just like loving and appreciating it versus being so afraid that it's going to get like fucked up.
right,
And
yeah,
I haven't had children yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen, with having kids, but I can say that now I feel less afraid. I actually feel like I've heard from so many of my friends that are moms, and you included, that you gain so much. It's so empowering because you see what your body can do, and you're
yeah,
like, and how it bounces back, or whatever, and how amazing it is. And
yeah,
so I'm like excited about that. There's nerves. I mean, there's like, and there are things I would say are challenge areas, but I feel like I can look at that. For the most part, I don't feel bothered by anything, like to
yeah,
the point where I like don't like myself. And I feel like when I can easily catch myself if I'm being mean, and just be like,
yeah,
especially with my legs have always been like the thing that I don't know exactly how, why, or whatever, but like, um, like I have cellulite and all this stuff, and there's like a week every couple months where I'm like really mean to myself about that, and then I'll be like, you know what, I'm like really, I can like pull out of it. Whereas like in college, um, I was like obsessed with getting skinnier, because we were in fashion together and had a lot of classmates that were all
yeah,
models, like literally looked like models. And like
yeah.
their arms were like
Or were
teeny
models,
tiny,
yeah,
or were,
yeah,
yeah, like like literally could be like runway models. And then we also then had like classmates modeling for each other, and then people were
right,
chosen to be models and all that stuff. And um, I remember saying, so then I got so restrictive, and I tried, and I'm kind of like, I think this is funny for me, but it's not, I know it's not like a funny thing at all. But I tried to be anorexic, but I couldn't. Like, I just couldn't I couldn't like make myself not eat. So I would eat like a plate of broccoli for lunch and like 20 almonds for a snack later, and then like try not to eat dinner, and then have like a Slim Fast shake for breakfast. Like I did that. I went through that whole thing, even though
Yeah.
because I was so afraid, like I felt like I was losing. Like I was a late bloomer in high school, so like I didn't get my period till I was a senior. So then everything started reshaping when I was in college. And so I had like shape like my freshman
Yeah.
year. And it wasn't freshman 15, my weight barely fluctuated, but it was just like I was starting to fill out differently. And I freaked out. Like I didn't, and I didn't feel like it was something I could, if I tried to talk to my mom about it, like, bless my
Right.
mom. I love you, mom, if you happen to be watching this. Um, I'm not hating on any of that. I think, yeah, everybody did what they could do with what they had at the
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
like I would never have brought that up to her because it was such a struggle point for her. Like, who am I to feel insecure about myself when she thinks that I'm beautiful and perfect? Like I didn't have
Yeah.
anywhere to go with that. And I
Yeah.
remember telling my boyfriend at the time, like, I just wish I could be anorexic. And he was just like, I don't understand what you're like. He was totally fine. He was like, you do you, man. But like, I think you're fine. Like, he wasn't like, I'm going to try to help you with this. He was just kind of like ignored it, which I think that probably helped to like dissolve it a little bit. But uh, yeah, definitely didn't have like an eating disorder, but I had disordered eating. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't like,
Yeah.
I just, and then that transferred to like, the skin problem was still there, didn't go away. So like, then when after college, like was making my own money and all that stuff, like I got really, particular about what I was putting in my body. And again, it wasn't coming from a place of like, I trust you to do what you need to do. It was just like, oh my God, I'm so scared that like this is not going to ever go away and it's going to get worse. And it was getting worse. And my body, I've done all these different like workout things, programs and everything just because I was scared. So, like afraid to just like to just trust myself and be in it. But yeah, it's a relief to not feel that way anymore, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, my history. I'm like, I feel like these, I'm like, wanting to share other people's stories. And I'm like, I guess I should like chime in too, like when we have similarities too, so people
Yeah.
actually get to know me. But yeah, and that I struggled as well. It started in high school. For me, I think it was because I wasn't really seen. Like,
Hmm.
wasn't popular, wasn't that, and like boys would talk about the girls, and I was like, aren't I pretty? That sort of thing. But it's like a control
Yeah.
thing too. For me, it's always like controlling food is either one way or the other. Either eating like nothing. I'd eat like an apple for lunch. I'd save my lunch money so I could like have it for whatever I wanted to spend it on. And
That's kind of
then
cool.
yeah, a little surplus of money. And then I worked at Domino's at the time, so I would just eat like toppings for, which is kind of gross, which
Oh,
is pretty gross. But
yeah.
like that's what I would eat, or like one veggie burger or something. And then I went to the other extreme where I would binge, like, which
Yeah.
too, I have like a thing, not a thing, I should say, but we've done some healing around like consumption in general
Yeah.
with me, and I think that's part of it. But it's obviously a control thing, and it waned. Like it got a lot better when, like, unfortunately, someone else had to like help me see my value. But it was like the kicking off point of it, which is Chuck, my now husband.
Hmm.
Um, and just like he's like, I'm like telling you how gorgeous you are. Like why can't you see that yourself? Which is the thing. You can't just force yourself to love
Yeah.
yourself, right? Um, but it did get better. It got better over time. Plus, I kind of sort of knew someone was watching me, so it sort of
Yeah.
helped a little bit.
Yeah. Just keeping
Um,
tabs.
yeah,
And you've
but
been
then
with him since college. I just want to say, like, this isn't
yes,
like yesterday
yeah,
this
almost.
happened.
I mean, gosh, it's like 15 years or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
but um, I still have my moments where I struggle a little bit. Not really much anymore. It's like sporadic, but yeah, like becoming a mom for me really helped. Yeah, connect to my body, all that kind of stuff, and see that there's power in it. And my frame is my frame too, right? Like
Hmm.
whether I gain some, lose some, things shift around. Of course, my body is not the same as it was before I had kids and nursed and all the thing, but like my
Yeah.
frame's still there, and like recognizing that and appreciating that even though my body does change, it like doesn't at the same time, the shape for
Yeah.
the most part. And there's something else I was going to say about that. that was like about being a mom, but no. Oh, and then when you said the cellulite thing, I don't know why I just feel like compelled to share this, but I was in I'll call it an event where I got to be around other women in very modest conditions, and seeing other women and being like, everybody has wrinkles on their legs, like when they move. And it's not always
Mm-hmm.
cellulite. It's literally like when they move.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I should share this, but like Penny, my daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, like
Yeah.
she has wrinkles on her butt when she moves, and she's 4.
Yeah.
Like it's not, it's like normal, but because we are just all
Because like
about,
TV shows something different. That's what pisses
yeah,
me off. Is that I'm like,
yeah, TV, everything we
any,
look at, and
yeah,
things are getting better,
getting
but like
better
it's
for sure.
still
Yeah.
not the norm, right?
Yeah.
And so you feel ashamed, and then you feel, like you said, not looking in the mirror, like you feel ashamed for being too vain, and then like
Hmm.
ashamed for not caring enough. Like
Yeah.
there's like, it's, no win-win, but
It's like a lose
um
lose.
yeah, always.
Yeah.
So
No.
uh so
The
how
vanity
did
thing.
all of this,
Oh,
oh
sorry.
yeah, no,
I
no,
was
go
going to say
ahead.
something on the vanity thing. Because yeah, part of the skin journey was I remember working with I worked did shit done like if anybody ever wants to know the skin journey, you just ask me and I'll tell you the whole story. I don't need to spend the whole time on here doing it, but one point I just had like a single session with somebody around it that um, I she was just offering, I can't remember, like some 30-minute chat or something like that. And I was like, yeah, she seems like the right person to talk to you about this. And uh, we got to this point and I was like, yeah, I just feel like I'm just high maintenance. Like I want to be someone who can, which this is how I am now, but I was like, could not see that I could ever get to this place. Like I just really like there's no way for me to even like visualize that I would be somebody that could be like this. But I remember being like, I just want to be someone who can go camping and not be worried. Like go camping
Mm,
and like take my makeup off at night. And I just feel like such high maintenance because I've got like a 7-step, like all organic oil and beautiful like honey manuka shit that I put all, I mean, I did so much every single day and night. And I need to use a certain towelette thing that I work with. And like, it was just so, so specific and, restricted with the products. All high quality and all like, nourishing your body and all that stuff. But I remember being so embarrassed that I felt so high maintenance. And she was like, so what if you just owned that you're high maintenance? What if you just owned that you
mm,
like want,
yeah,
like, that you just need time, like you're somebody who needs time? And I was like, oh, I never really thought about just like allowing that to be part of me. And,
yeah,
as a result now, like I have a pretty low maintenance regimen and routine. And, but then it kind of led into, I remember like the day that I told you about the like running in the sports bra and, running in the sports bra was like such a big deal for me. Um,
yeah, me too.
it was
It's been
like,
recently, me too. Yeah.
yeah, it was like 2 years ago. And I remember like running and well, I have like a whole even side story about that. But I remember coming home and just being like, telling my husband, I was like, I am allowed to want to feel beautiful. And it was like such a
Mm,
mind blowing thing to allow myself to desire to feel and look good. Because that
yeah.
was something that, like, my mom says that my dad is vain. My dad calls himself vain. And it's always spoken about in this really negative way. And my dad is vain. He, like, puts on tanning lotion, like, he, like,
He has
the
like the
tanning
high
lotion.
metabolism too,
He's
right?
got the high metabolism, like he gains weight and then he can lose it as soon as he
Yeah.
decides, and he like did the Rogaine thing, like he tried to hold on to his youth as long as possible. And his mom was that way too. And so the way it was talked about in my house was that that was like bad. But then my mom didn't talk about her appearance but you could feel that she felt ashamed. And so it was like she was projecting shame on my dad for like having vanity, being vain. It was like these two extremes, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I felt like it's bad to like myself and it's bad to not like myself. It's just bad all around to not like, all of it. And so on that run, when I was out there running in the sports bra, and seriously, like I had like this much
I was
belly
gonna say with the
showing.
high waist pants, it's like there's a lot of comfort and like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
I was barely, and I like still feel less comfortable in like a tank top. Like I have cardigan over it. My hair is down. Amanda gave me that recommendation.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah.
there's a little bit showing over here. So, I'm still like working with like feeling like I can be free, like without being totally like covered. But in that experience of running, I almost like I felt really proud of myself. Like it was really hot out. Like I needed, like I was putting a tank top over top of it for the run that was like really loose anyway. So it was like basically I wasn't really covering anything more. But it felt like I was. And so when I was out there, I immediately saw this, like I ran by this couple and they were pushing a baby carriage, like it was a newborn baby in there. And it was, a male partner and a female partner. And I immediately felt so guilty. And on this run, I just started to explore that. I was like, oh, I should not be wearing this. And
Oh.
I was like, I'm giving him something to look at and I'm giving her something to feel bad about. That was like the first thing that came to my mind.
Mm.
And I was like, that's really interesting that I feel guilt. So why don't I explore this? I'm on my run and I'm just like, why do I feel guilty? Where does this go to? And that's how I started to liberate some of the stories from when I was a child and just the idea that like, there's so many stories in that. Like, it's not, if you're dressed a certain way, then you're getting attention that you shouldn't be getting,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you could be causing, like, it could be not safe for you. So there was like
Yeah.
that story. But what I was thinking, what I like quickly thought and saw was, I feel this way when I wear something cute to work. Like not when I'm naked or when I'm half naked running, but like I feel this way when I like actually try or like I'm wearing something that isn't just like basic and or like a dress or something like that. Like why are you so dressed up? Like I like come in with this guilty energy and I remember being like, what is that from? So just kept like peeling back, like, which was a really great thing to do on a run because you're like moving energy, just
Yeah.
peeling back the layers, like it's coming out. I ended up doing like, basically like a healing session on myself, like a mini one on myself, just like a bunch of statements and understanding all of it. But it was a really big realization that like I don't actually have to feel that way and I don't have to make assumptions about how that couple felt. Like,
Right.
like that's not really my place. Um, so like how can I just accept and own all of it? Accept and own
Yeah.
my high maintenance side of me,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
now I don't really think about anymore. But yeah, maybe I need 10 more minutes then. I have a couple girlfriends that like they just don't do anything with their skin and it always looks perfect. They've never had issues. And it's like, yeah, I probably am going to take 10 more minutes to get ready than that person is. But who the fuck cares?
Right. Right. Yeah. No one cares. Yeah.
Like it's okay for me to like do my routine feels very loving, but like it's okay for me to do my routine and want to feel like I look good. Like I'm allowed to want to feel that way. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, there's like so much in there you said that is just gold. But I think of two of the things that resonated with me. One is like kind of this concept of suffering, like at the expense of yourself and how others see you. So,
Yeah.
like
And like
covering
hiding
up,
yourself so that
yeah. Which I think for
you
you,
aren't
when you were
hurting
saying
anyone
your
else.
skin, covering your, and that wasn't hurt, but like covering your skin, so people don't
Yeah.
see like how pale you are and stuff. But in this case, like for the couple and stuff. And I remember telling you the first time I wore a sports bra to something was hot yoga because I think I told you the first class I went to I wore like a t-shirt and like track running shorts but they're like
Uh-huh.
polyester and I was like it was like a hot garbage bag around my waist and I never did it again because it was
Yeah.
horrible. And you were like yeah I did hot yoga and I still wore all the clothes and
Like
it's like
cotton.
yeah
Like
yeah
thick
and
cotton t-shirt.
not that I haven't done the same thing in different circumstances. I
Yeah.
was the girl in volleyball freshman year that always wore basketball shorts, like while everybody else was wearing spandex, and only wore spandex when I had to.
Like
But
when you have to. Yeah.
like the games, when that was a uniform issue, then I'd have to wear them. But yeah,
Yeah.
like this idea of like us suffering, like in terms of it might be mentally, it might be physically, just being hot outside and wearing
Yeah.
jeans when it's hot out, right? Those sort of
Yeah.
things. And then this idea of like good bad attention I think we constantly deal with when we dress ourselves. Like for me, like I
Yeah.
said, in high school is when some of my like issues started flaring up and it's like what I appreciate about style and fashion is I started using that as a way to express myself and in a way get like some attention. sometimes it was bad when I was wearing like a Nine Inch Nails t-shirt. Sometimes it was good when I just started like exploring with what I actually liked to wear.
Yeah.
But then there's been moments where I've worn something that I like feel amazing and like confident. I used to have these pair of like shiny pants that had like a batik eyeball print on them. They were like,
In
when I
high
wore
school?
them, I felt like amazing.
I
And then
love
I
it.
got really bad attention in them and like couldn't wear them
Yeah.
again. And so it like, oh, it's, I think sometimes too, it's this like freedom of just being like, one, it sucks that you get bad attention. Like that's just not,
Yeah.
it's not fair. It's not fair, right?
Yeah.
And two, like doesn't mean I have to get rid of them now or I can never wear them again or just because like one person looked at me that way. But that's like that was a struggle for me too. In my case, it was
Yeah.
like a really bad thing. So like there's that, but it's I think that falls back into that like camp then of like vanity too. Like you wear something that you get bad attention in and then like you're at fault, right? Or you should
Right.
have
It's your
done it.
fault that you did that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So
hard
you
and
deserve whatever it is.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
even just like I'm generally more dressed up like than other people. So today I have makeup on because I'm doing this. But most days I
Mhm.
wear like somewhat nice clothes that make me feel good, earrings, and then probably just let my hair air dry and wear no makeup on camera most days. And I'm like
Yeah.
fine with that. But then like I take Penny to school and it's no one says anything like bad, but it's always like, what's Penny's mom wearing today? Or what's this or this? And
Hmm.
I think all the intentions are really good. I think it's like complimentary and nice, but I'm always like, oh, I should just
Yeah.
dress like I shouldn't wear this. Like I should blend in
Yeah.
because it's like a thing I'm getting
Yeah.
rid
Like,
of.
who am I to stand out? Like,
Yeah. I
why?
should just wear
Yeah.
like my leggings that, I woke up in or something like that and go there and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's weird.
I know. And for someone who, like, I mean, we both studied fashion in college, like, clearly there's an interest in expression through clothing.
Yeah.
But it's funny to be like, oh, even though this is like a passion of mine or was a passion of mine at some point in life, it is weird to have that experience of being like, I'm standing out in this weird, like in a way that's like too much for other people. I mean, I
Yeah.
think all of the themes are really about just like um, just staying small, like
Yeah.
how can I stay small and safe so that
Yeah.
no one else is disturbed or interrupted or hurt by my existence.
Comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, uncomfortable, any of that. And I even feel weird, like if I have to share my size, like clothing size with people sometimes. I just did that with you
Mm,
the other day because
yeah.
you're ordering something for me. Thank you. And, I felt uncomfortable sharing it
Yeah.
because it's like, it's because it's small. Like, and
Yeah.
it's like, this is what you're supposed to want if everyone, if I'm following what like society says, but then I grew up with that lens of like shame that came with that. It wasn't my shame, but like because other people didn't have that, then they felt shame and I absorbed that shit. So it's like,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
becomes mine. So yeah, like I've had shame um, for not having that story that's like standard, which is part of the reason why I thought it would be interesting to come on to this series because it's not, for me, it's not the standard, like not the standard. I
Right.
shouldn't say
Yeah.
that, but like it's not the weight story that I think that so many
Right.
people,
Yeah.
there's an element to that because obviously I was afraid of all of that. And who knows, maybe I'll be afraid of it again, especially having kids or whatever. Um, but yeah, it was more about like being afraid of me. I even remember back to volleyball because I played volleyball too, wearing spandex. I remember there were a couple of girls on my team who would point at my legs and be like, "Oh my God, you're so skinny. It's not fair." Or like I moved
Oh,
school when I
yeah.
was 12, and so I went to a new school in seventh grade, and I had such a small frame. I was like the shortest one in the class that people thought I was a fourth grader and not a seventh grader. And so then I had this
Mm,
whole thing around like,
yeah.
I just couldn't fit in anywhere. It was like,
Yeah.
you're either like, you're just separation in general, like you don't fit in. And so, yeah, that piece about you with like moms, the mom crew, you're the one that's like not fitting in. And it's our
Right.
innate need to belong
belong to like
And
the pack. Yeah.
yeah, belong. And like true belonging is really like honoring who you are. Fitting in is like, you know, is trying to just like meet the mold or whatever. And so then you're like not belonging to yourself when you're doing that. There's like, all the psychology around that. But we associate fitting in with belonging. And
I
yeah,
love what
so
you
if
say
you were
too about like fitting in with survival though. Like
right,
we do
like
it to survive.
we do
Yeah.
it to survive. Yeah. Yeah. Like you showing up in your sweats or whatever wouldn't actually serve like your soul and your
Right.
spirit.
Right.
And so if you were just doing that, just so that you didn't make anyone else uncomfortable, then that wouldn't really serve anyone, right? Like anyone in the world.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, the survival piece, that's when I'm talking about loyalty, that's what it all comes down to is that we have a loyalty to our pack, our tribe, our community, our family, whatever. Many of us have many loyalties. I think that's part of life is being able to pass, whatever upper limits we've set for ourselves and honor and release loyalties that no longer need to be. But we hold on to them so tightly because it is linked to like we would actually have been killed if way back
Right.
when we left our community or we were kicked out of our community. We would either be
Yeah.
killed by a cheetah that decided to take us down, or if you try to enter another community and you're an outsider, you would be unsafe. And so
Right.
those that shit runs deep, like
Yeah.
runs really deep. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. And I was liking what you were saying too about like when you said, if you were to wear sweatpants and to show up to like fit in and to not make anyone else uncomfortable. Like I think that's why I didn't realize for a long time that like style and fashion resonated with me as much as it did. Like when I was in school, people were like, you should be a fashion designer because I'd be like bedazzling a shirt for a homecoming game or something like that. Nothing like amazing. But it really was a tool for me to play with and express myself when pretty much otherwise I was super afraid of making anyone feel uncomfortable in anything in my life, and I still do. Like that I'm like the queen of not wanting to make anybody feel uncomfortable, therefore
Yeah.
like not being true to myself, not setting boundaries, all the do all the things.
Yeah.
But like I know it doesn't, not everybody feels this way about clothing style, beauty, whatever you want to keep home, however you want to like categorize
Yeah.
it. But I think that's why it becomes easier to me or it resonates with me because it was something that, to say loosely, was easy. Of course, you have to have access to certain things to make to
Yeah.
reflect your style the way that you want to, mainly money and time and that. But it was just like something I could play with and try and always have. And even when I feel like weird showing up to places like overdressed, it can get to me at the end of the day. Like I still feel better in my own body and myself, like putting something on that makes me feel good, which is also why I do
Yeah.
Style Fridays, because usually by Friday I don't want to wear anything.
Yeah. You're
And
like
I'm like,
forcing yourself.
this is for me and
Yeah.
everybody else that please wants to join me, please do. But like this
Yeah.
is for me, to like
Yeah.
give myself that boost that I know that I normally get, that endorphin, that I get normally when I choose one thing even to help with that. So
Yeah.
with that, I know we don't have a lot of time left, but what in your style, like, do you like, where are you with that now? We did work together. If you wanted to share a little bit about like what resonated with you, given that you do have a background in fashion, so this was not news to you. Like you've done a bunch of healing, so not always news to you, but I know that you said there was like some key things that stood out there.
Yeah. I mean, I was so curious to see what you were going to illuminate for me because, yeah, like I kind of get it. And
You were testing me,
um,
right?
I was just testing you. I was going to see if you're actually good so then
Let's
I
see.
wouldn't
Yeah.
tell anyone to go to you if you weren't. Um, no, I mean, I really was just curious. I entered it with curiosity. It wasn't like I didn't ask you to solve a certain thing or like, hey, I'm trying to do a photo shoot. Like, I need to
Yeah.
know what I should wear. It wasn't like that for me, though. That's a really smart way to utilize Amanda, I think, if you have something specific too. But I was just really curious because, yeah, I mean, we've been working from home for the last year and a half, 2 years. We're going to come up on 2 years, I'm sure. Um, I've moved across the country multiple times. So I lived in Cincinnati, New York for a little bit, Minneapolis for a stint, back to Cincinnati, Boston, now Denver, Boulder area, and you move to Colorado and you kind of don't leave your yoga pants. Like
Yeah.
everything is really cash here, and mountains. Somebody called it mountain chic or something like that. I don't know. And so I feel disconnected from what I own. And can go into my closet and I like everything that I have, but I I don't always wear all the things and all that stuff. So I was curious to see what you would kind of come through with. And what I received, I feel like, was these lenses that I could just play with.
Hmm.
It really just like confirmed that I can be playful about what I'm doing and I don't really have to follow rules, which I've always felt anyway. Like in college, even in college, like the first year of fashion school, I literally wore jeans and like Goodwill t-shirts every day. And I remember people would be like,
Thermal.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and a thermal underneath. Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know why I remember that, but I do.
I
It
don't know
was
why you
like,
do too.
yeah,
I love that you remember that. I forgot about the thermals, but yeah, I had like
I
a look.
remember clothes, remember?
Yeah. And like I always like have gravitated toward like a certain look for a certain amount of time, but it's always been very
Yeah.
different because then a couple of years later I was wearing boots that went over my knee, so like, thigh boots and they're black and I wore black jeans every day with like, some kind of like cool top or I would wear them with dresses and whatever. So like total extremes. And one of the things that you pointed out was that one of my archetypes is, well, the nomad or the wild woman is
Wild
what it's
woman,
called,
yeah.
right? Wild
Yeah.
woman, and kind of that like nomadic energy of just like expressive and all that stuff. And then Peter Pan and the Lost Boys being another one, and the third one is like I'm blanking from the third one.
I actually think
Can
it
you give
was,
me
I think the
three?
nomad fit in there, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, and the nomad. So yeah, maybe it was all three.
Which, can I
But the
interrupt for just a
Yeah,
second? I should have said
yeah,
archetypes too for people because it can be confusing. What it is in one of the offerings I have is I basically give you like a character or a persona
yeah,
or even say like a vibe to identify with because sometimes thinking of ourselves and being like stuck in ourselves can make it really hard to make choices. So when you can almost like remove yourself from it a bit and like see this character, then it helps. So Beth's one of them was
totally.
Peter Pan and Lost Boys. So it can help you kind of like see yourself a little bit differently when you're
Yeah,
like making style choices or how you want to show up to other people and to yourself.
yeah. Which
Sorry.
that one in particular, like I felt like I already knew. I mean, I knew all of them, right? Because what you're doing is you're illuminating what we already know about ourselves, I think.
Yes.
And at
Yeah.
least that's the way I
Yeah,
interpret
it
your
is.
work.
It should.
And it,
And I think it should be. Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like you're really just like you're creating an articulation through language and through imagery to help somebody really see themselves. But what was so cool about that trio is that it I remember you saying something like you don't have to follow trends, you don't have to follow like first of all no one has to and I know you always say that but like
Yeah.
you get to just like do whatever you want and this you're putting on clothes can feel like a performance for you. It can feel like you're just like getting ready for like even if you don't want to wear it all day it's like you can put it on for the
Yeah.
morning and then perform and then whatever. And the Peter
Change
Pan
into
and the
your
Lost
like
Boys.
robe afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
which I was like, oh, I
Scene
love that
over.
because, yeah, like, and I'm a Leo sun in the 12th house. So there's a little bit of like an identity crisis there of like wanting to be seen and also wanting to be incredibly private, but the introverted, extroverted lens. And I don't know, that really spoke to me. And even just like the small things you suggested so much for like beauty care, just like a little lip color or, just like a little highlighter on the cheek and like, your look is more natural. And I was like, cool, because I've settled into that, as an adult and that feels right to me. The Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, I just want to pull out that movie, well, the movie Hook, like was such an important movie for me as a child and resonated on so many levels and was an escape for me. And when I was having a hard time at home and things like that. And so, I mean, when you told me that, I was just like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. And I grew up like as a tomboy. Like I was the only girl in my neighborhood and I was the one that was starting the fights and the rumbles and all of the stuff. Like I was like just a little scrappy kid. And as I've grown up, I'm so feminine. And there's a part of me that feels like I've lost that tough side, not tough side, but like
Yeah.
just the play
Yeah.
side. I've become very feminine and like delicate, I think I think that persona was like put on me, and I think I accepted it as like this is what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, that I feel like that kind of like liberated that in me a little bit more.
Felt really good. I was like,
Yeah.
Beth, I was just driving in the car thinking of you as I do,
I
and
was like, yes, you do. Okay.
this came forward. I liked to, let me just talk about what I liked about it. I
Yeah.
liked to when we said, I was talking about how you also have like the permission to choose what you want to wear. So one, the Peter Pan Lost Boys, like they were all about adventure, play, like freedom. I mean, they were orphans, right? But they didn't even know they really were because it was all like magic and just that, like, yeah, like magical child, right?
Yeah.
Um, but they got to make their own choices too, like in all of that. And it came like forward in this is like you get to make the choices. Like, yes, you can express play and freedom, and
Oh
we had
yeah,
two
I'm
different
having like a
boards
major
that
moment.
there. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I feel like this is important because I wasn't allowed to choose what I wanted to wear
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid. I
Yeah,
forgot about that because yeah, my mom like really wanted me to look like the little girl that she really wanted,
yeah.
and she also made clothes. My mom made clothes when I was a kid and did embroideries, and she would yeah pick out my clothes and not let me pick out my own clothes. And so I would sometimes take clothes to school, change like in fifth grade, and then nothing bad, but I would wear like
Yeah.
my brother's like soccer shorts or something like that instead of the dress that she, and I would hide dresses underneath my mattress, um, the ones I really hated. Anyway, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, sorry,
I
keep
like
going.
it.
I'm
That's
like,
like
keep
so
telling me more
cute.
about my reading.
Yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, it was very memorable. So I liked that though, like to like be able to
Yeah,
step into that, but also kind of like comfort like the past version of you, or the child version of you that didn't get to do that, and like let that
yeah,
be empowering. And I think that's, to me, that what I'm hearing you say too, that's kind of like the theme or the mix of it is like this empowerment. Like you get to perform, right? Like you get to choose what you wear, like this like freedom in it. And I think that's probably true for your life too, like this like
mm,
being able to sense of adventure, maybe not stay in one place very long, stay in a trend, or not trend, but like how you're interpreting your
just like
style
hop
for very
things.
long. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's also like sometimes I think that can feel restricting, like, oh, I shouldn't be trying these new things because I should have like a signature look, or
yeah,
um wait, I mean, product and clothing waste is a real thing and a real concern, but in your case though
yeah,
is like it's not really, like, it gives you like the freedom to play. But you told me you have like clothes in your closet and your drawers that you do really love, you just don't know where to wear them, or feel like not wear, but you feel like you don't have a place to wear them. And I'm like, that can be part of play if you feel
right. Like I can
compelled to,
just wear them
right?
in my office. Like I don't have to like
Yeah.
to wear a fun dress because I have a lot of fun dresses that yeah we don't wear anymore. Yeah, you were like, and then like the
Yeah,
next day
which
I
is
went
like,
on a live and I was like, I'm dressed up in a jumpsuit
you
now.
did. I know. I was like, dang, I love it. Which is so funny
Yeah,
too, because this is like the first moment in our lives really where the amount of time we're looking at ourselves like is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And so one, that can be hard. Like there's times where I'm
Hmm.
like, I am obsessing too much about how often my bangs are in my face, or
I know, I'm
I
like
really
my
should put some
11s are
peeling.
showing.
Yeah, like it's, so that can be hard and triggering for sure, but
Mhm.
it's also like it's been kind of fun for me to be like, this sounds really weird, but like seeing what I'm wearing, like, and enjoying that I like
Yeah,
put something on that makes me feel really good about myself. Because normally you put it on, do go about your day, maybe go to the bathroom and see yourself in the mirror, or see yourself in the
yeah,
reflection of a building when you're walking, and that's about it. So it's kind of like, okay, like feeling
yeah,
good about seeing like myself and the choices we've made too. We are
yeah. I
almost
like
at
that.
the hour. I knew this would
Okay, I'm
happen.
glad you're
It
keeping
was
time.
good.
I'm not.
It's on my phone. Yeah, I guess, is there, we can wrap up here, or if there's anything like you would leave people with, or anything else you want to touch on before we
Hmm.
go. This has been great.
I mean, yeah, I guess what I would leave anyone who's listening, and if this has resonated with anyone, I think one of the biggest lessons or the biggest tools that I continue to use is like acceptance. And I think can sound like um, something nice to read in a meme that doesn't really apply to you.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is when you're in the moment and you're criticizing and you're seeing something you don't like, really just like stopping and seeing that. And like, I literally will be like, I love and accept feeling not good right now. I love and accept the cellulite that I'm seeing that I don't want to see. Like, I say yes to this experience, and as a way to just like we're so hard on ourselves, like as a way to just like slow down. And it's never really helped me to think, treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend. Like my mind is too savvy for that. My mind's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but my best friend's better than me. You know what I mean? Like, of course I'm going
Right.
to treat
Yeah.
them better. Like, that never worked for me. So, the truly, like, this is my workaround, I think, is to just like stop and slow down into the moment. And especially if I'm noticing it, like, oh, I've been feeling like crap for a while, like a week or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, something has to shift here. So,
Yeah.
stop, pause, accept, and then kind of like figure out what it is. Do I need to like go for a run to like move some energy out? Or like anytime I work out, I always feel like a million times better about myself. Like even if
Yeah.
I didn't do a good workout, it's just the endorphins literally work. So, even if it's just going for like a brisk walk or something like that. And um, knowing that like you don't have to stay stuck in those feelings that are like really imprisoning, can
Yeah.
be. And I think
Love that.
having people in your life that you can talk to about it is really important. Like I
That was
never
on
talked
my
to
mind
anybody about
too.
this stuff
Yeah,
until I was an adult.
that was on my mind too.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally messaged you and another friend like after I had done a video shoot and was like,
Oh yeah.
there's many things happening right now. I hate how big my arms look. Do they really look like that? Like, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that they do, but they do. And then of course I had all the reasons why it was like, oh, it's squished down like this and all the things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, but then also like, I feel really crappy right now that I'm upset about this. Like, because
Yeah.
I should be further along in my acceptance in myself than this, like exactly, exactly. I should be more evolved than this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
I'm
like,
above feeling like crap because that means I'm not in flow. Like,
yeah. And even just
yeah.
being able to voice that out loud was helpful.
Yeah.
And, and talking to people too that kind of know how to like talk you through it. And it wasn't, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be frank, it's not like you guys were like, no, your arms aren't bad
No.
immediately.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, no, here's what I think you're seeing, or I think here's like some triggers, or maybe like this is what it means for you. But like that, and
Yeah.
also like it's okay, and it's okay that you're
Yeah.
feeling this way, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah. And then the other thing, just because it reminded me of you, if it's helpful for me, so maybe it'd be helpful for someone else,
Yeah.
is that acceptance, like you're saying, or like noticing. When I was at a physical therapist recently, we were talking about how my body is like this all the time, like,
Mm.
um, from anxiety usually. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. You're telling me to relax these muscles. Like, I don't know how to. And she's teaching me,
Yeah.
right? But she
Yeah.
was like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think? And I'm like, oh, it's anxiety. It's stress. It's like literally when my kids are like knocking something over, yelling, I can feel myself clenching everything. I used a different
Mm-hmm.
term and you know what that was. But I was like, I just, it's like instantly. And she was like, if you can, like, if you can remember, think of it, just like pause, like you're saying, and like thank your brain for like protecting you. She's like, it's just fight or flight, not just, but
Yeah.
this is what's happening. Like, your brain is like noticing that something scary happened, upsetting happened, whatever, and you're literally tightening up to like protect yourself.
Yeah.
And she was like, so just like that noticing and being like, thank you for keeping me safe. And of course, like you said, like doing some of the digging of like what is further there. This moment of my kids knocking something over is like not something I really need to dig into. I know what's going on there, but
Right.
being very upset that I saw a video of myself that the messaging was great, like
Yeah.
everything else was great, and I was just like, my arms, like that I
Yeah.
can do some digging
And
into or like
uh,
reflecting on.
I'll just say this really quick, but I think we're
No,
taught
go
to be
ahead.
that critical. Like we're
Yes,
taught to be that
we were.
critical. Like
Yeah.
you see like my mom doesn't even get pictures taken of herself, but like, you know, you see women, I'm using women, but you can see anyone being like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like picking on themselves. Like it's not
Right.
cool to like see yourself and be like, oh, I look pretty good. I did a great job. Like
Right.
that's not normal yet, you know?
No.
And
No.
if you are like that, if you were like, I'm so proud of like how it all turned out, I think I look great, blah, 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 like
People will be
that
like, yeah,
you
that's
would
not
you would be
helpful if you're not
afraid
like,
people would be
yeah,
like that, right? Like because
yeah.
that's what we've been taught. I don't think that we would have been that way. We've been like, yeah, you're amazing,
I'm
of
like, you
course,
look
because we see you
great.
that
Yeah.
way, right? But like, but yeah, I think that yeah, just having so much compassion for like why we have the natural response to just pick, pick and pick and pick.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, totally. That's one, again, it's like a little thing, but I'm trying to be really conscious of, especially since I have little ears around me all the time now, is like
yeah,
when my husband or someone else compliments me, like I literally tried to pause before my knee jerk reaction of like what I observed growing up, not just in my
hmm,
household, but in society of, oh no, I don't, or oh, but this, I didn't do my makeup today or whatever. Like now I
yeah,
try really hard to like pause and be like, thank you so much. Or the one day I even said to my husband,
hmm,
like, thank you. That actually really means a lot to me because I didn't really feel very good about myself today. So like,
yeah.
he's like, cool, no problem. Like, keep it up,
Love Chuck.
So yeah, I know.
Yeah,
He is just amazing with compliments
he's
and
amazing.
loves to solve a problem. So he was like, check, check. I
Oh,
did
that
it.
was so
Yeah.
mutually beneficial. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yes, here's a win for me. So anyways, thank you, Beth. I mean, I just like chatting with you any day of the week, but this is so
Yeah,
good. Thank you for um, speaking up and being a little vulnerable and being willing to do it for me, but for everybody else
yeah.
that gets to watch this replay and got to join us today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening.
Awesome.
It's
Yeah.
nice to
All
be
right.
heard. All
Anytime.
right. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.